Hello, dear students. Let's understand closure properties of context-free language. Now, as you see, the closure properties of context-free language can be understood by learning a few points. The first point I have written is context-free language is closed under union operation. Just to give you a reference, what is context-free language? Any language, a language that is that is generated or accepted by context free grammar, or we can say PDA, because PDAs are realization of context free grammar. They are automata or machine which realizes CFG, are called are called are called context free languages. Correct? And what is regular language, by the way? A regular language is the language which is generated or you can say accepted by regular expression or DFA or NFA, because DFA and NFA are realizations of regular expressions. They are automata, they are machines which actually implement regular expression. Correct? So we have already learned closure properties of regular expression. We are about to learn what are closure properties of context free language. And remember, this language is generated by context free grammar. Okay. So the first property, closure property, is CFL is closed under union operation. What it means is, if you are given any two languages L1, L2, and let's say you are told that L1 and L2 are context free languages. That means they have been generated by using context free grammar or PDA. Then their union of these two languages is surely a context free language. How do you prove this, by the way? But wait a minute, let me again tell you what the closure property is. I'm sure you have seen the earlier video, long back actually, about closure properties of regular language. And in that, I told you what do you mean by closure or closure property. But let's understand the closure property again. What it means is that if you take any two context free languages and you find union of them, then you will always get, check the word always, you will always get a new language which is surely context free language. That always is very important. That means it can't happen that there exist some language L1 and L2 which are context free languages, but when you find union, you will not get context free language. It's impossible. Union of any two context free language is always a context free language. That's why we say that CFL, context free language, are closed under union operation. Okay, but how do you prove it? Very simple. Let's say you are given two CFGs, context free grammars. Take any CFG. For example, I have taken one CFG as S derives AA and A derives B. Very simple. Now this context free grammar has generated only one string. Just please try to understand AB. Just check this. It's a very purposely I have taken very simple CFG where S derives AA, so the derivation will begin with a small a followed by capital A, and capital A will give simply B. So only one string is there in this language. Okay, and the other CFG given is S derives, let's say B and B derives A. So in this language there will be only one string BA. Correct? Because S begins with, start symbol begins with small b followed by capital B, and capital B will finally give you only small a. Now what if you call this as language 1 and this as language 2? then what is language 1 union language 2? You can write this as, maybe if you name this as S1, the start symbol, and this as S2, the start symbol, then the new language L is equal to L1 union L2 can be described as S derives S1 or S2. I hope you are understanding. Because union is simply the collection of all strings of L1, all strings of L2, correct? That's union operation. We are talking about union of sets, because language is nothing but set of strings that are accepted by CFG, and S1 is nothing but AA, and A is nothing but B, and S2 is nothing but BB, and B, and the capital B is A. You must agree that the resultant CFG, just by ORing the start symbols of the two languages, we have got a new CFG. And of course, if this is the new CFG, it will generate a context-free language. That means ORing, that means union or ORing of the two CFGs is always a new CFG. Remember, and it gives a new CFL. You can take any complex CFG. It's not a big deal. But instead of taking actual CFG, just think of that we have got one grammar G1, which is described as NTPS. You remember non-terminal, terminal, productions, and start symbol. So there are some non-terminals here. Let's call it as N1 and terminals. Now the point is that the terminals of this G1 and terminals of G2 should be same. So if G2 has these non-terminals N2 and G1 has these non-terminals N1, then terminals of G1 and G2 should be same. They should be defined on the same sigma. So in our earlier example, the sigma defined over here was AB. Just check. And sigma defined over here was also AB. The strings were made up of the same symbols. So coming back to our discussion, this G1 may have its own non-terminals, this G2, which is also, both are CFGs, remember. Both will have their own non-terminals, but both of them will have same terminals, but each of them will have different productions. Just as you saw that the first CFG over here had its own productions and the second CFG over here had its own productions. Correct? The productions may not be same, obviously. Then, and finally, S1 is the start symbol and S2 is the start symbol of G2. Then we get this G1 generates CFL1. Let's call it as L1. And this generates L2. Now, if you actually find union of L1 and L2, it is nothing but just say S1 or S2 with a new start symbol S, and then follow with all productions P1 and follow all productions P2. All the productions P1 will be written and all productions P2 will be written. That will give us a new CFG. Let's take one more example. Let's say I'm writing some arbitrary CFG. Let's say this is G1. Let's say S derives AAB, then A derives B, and let's say C, CC, small c, this capital C followed by small c. B derives B, and let's say C derives D. Let's say this is G1, and G2 is S derives, let's say B, BA, and B derives, let's say T, and A derives, let's say AA, A derives simply A. Just check the two grammars. Even I don't know what I have written. Believe me, I have written some grammars, but the important thing is both are CFGs. Now, what if this grammar generates a language L1, which is of course CFL, context-free language, because the grammar is CFG, so it generates a CFL. What if this grammar generates a language L2, which is also CFL? What will be L1 union L2? That is L, the new language. This will be nothing but you can name this start symbol as S1 and this start symbol as S2. Then you can introduce a new symbol S1, which is S1 or S2, followed by, please try to understand, followed by all productions of G1, all productions of G1. So S derives AAB, then A derives BCC, then B derives BB, and C derives D, and followed by all productions of S2, that is grammar 2. So that will be S2 derives BBA, then B derives D, then A derives AA, then A derives A. Just check, this is a CFG. What it does, it generates a string which are generated by S1 if you use this S1, or it generates a strings which are derived by S2. This is S2. So clearly this start symbol S will give us the strings which are in the language L1 union L2. The point is, union of any two context-free languages is always a context-free language. Remember this? This was the first closure property. Let's meet in the next video to learn other properties, other closure properties of CFL. Thank you very much.